So the most important thing to remember that we always keep our fingers engaged. So imagine you holding an egg between your middle finger and thumb. So in this egg, you're trying to keep constantly. That will be kind of the simplest way to explain that. And my fingers are absolutely straight, right? So they're not slightly bent or relaxed completely. So 99.9% of the time when I do exercise, I'm trying to engage my fingers. So the finger position is like egg holding position, right? So also we have a wrist position, and commonly we can say we have two wrist position, wrist. So the wrist can be absolutely straight, that's the foundation, or curved down like 90-degree almost angle. So both positions we use quite often. So the first position create more engaged, with the bent wrist position create more engaged and edgy look. Straight is always beautiful and harmonious line. So most of the time I'm going to use straight wrist, but sometimes certain motion and exercise I'm performing with the bent wrist. So next, it's your arm positions, the whole arm positions. So first of all, when you position your arm, you want to take care of your posture and your shoulders. So when I open my arms to the side or up or forward or down, it's all arm positions. But the common thing about all these positions is that I'm keeping my shoulder down. So especially, let's say if you go up arms, a lot of people do this, they kind of lift their shoulders. So we're trying to avoid it. So how are we going to do it? We roll our shoulders back and kind of settle them there. And my shoulder blades are trying to kind of squeeze together. So, but be careful, don't exaggerate that you open up too much your chest. So I'm just squeezing a little bit muscles around shoulder blades to make my back look like flat position, right? So here, my sternum lifts up, shoulder blades together, shoulder pulling them down. So like this, you will have that area very open and beautiful in here. And my tailbone, I'm trying to lift towards the ribs. So overall, my spine become very vertical. My tummy is in, my chest is open, and shoulders pulling down. So that's the posture. And when I do any arm position, at any direction, I'm trying to keep my shoulders constantly in the same position. So that's about arms foundation. So fingers and arms foundation, fingers holding an egg. Arms, we're trying to position in a way where our wrist straight and engaged and our shoulders are pulling down, keeping our spine stretched. So also about posture a little bit, I mentioned that we're keeping our tummy pulled in. It's very important. So when you do any exercise, just in general, you have to try to keep your tummy always engaged. So we're trying to avoid this kind of dropping tummy out and sticking the butt out. We're trying to put our tailbone down vertical and lift our tummy in towards the chest and open the chest. So that's the position, always engaging our core and our tummy area. So next, exercises for legs. So there are a few common positions. So first position, it calls literally first position. So when your heels together, toes apart. So this position is very common. So we're trying to avoid any positions like this. So if your toes look inside, it's not really good. So first position is when our heels together, toes apart. Second position, when our heels are on the distance and toes still apart, so we're not staying like this. There is also a parallel version of both of these positions. You can have first turnout and first parallel, when you toes and heels absolutely together and feet parallel. And same for the second position. Most of the time we use open, this turnout second position, but sometimes we can do parallel. So it's very good for this kind of back bend, like when we bend down positions and stretching our hamstrings. So we use parallel position a lot of times. So, but 90% again of time, you're going to have your toes a little bit turned up. So that's about feet position. So next, when let's say you exercise your hip, in the beginner level, most of the time we do a hip stretch, and it goes like a pendulum in the clock direction. So I'm trying to kind of bring my hip towards the rib and to another side the same way. So I'm pendulum my hips. And as you can see, I'm trying to keep my upper body absolutely still. It's very important because majority of people in the beginning, they're gonna do like this. So they move hips and shoulders and chest together. So we're trying to avoid moving our upper body and do just the hip action. So that's a pendulum action of the hip. So we can keep hips still, we can pendulum hip, also we can rotate our hip. So rotate means we rotating our pelvis, entire pelvis around the spine. So I don't use that often hip rotation in my beginner sessions, but just for your knowledge, we're going to use it a lot, let's say in the intermediate series and into advanced sessions. So we're going to rotate our hip a lot. But in the beginner, some of the combos, I use sometimes the hip rotation as well. So again, hip position, still hips. The second one is when we go pendulum. And the third is rotation. So in the advanced level, sometimes on the professional level, we talk also about settling a little bit, but that's not very important right now for the beginner level. So again, quick recap. So our foundation is our finger positions, our wrist positions straight and engage 1000% all the time, like all the muscles of the arms. Because first of all, why guys we use that type of engagement? It creates the discipline for our body, for our upper body first of all, and we're ready to dance, right? It's a discipline. So second, we stretching our spine and pulling our shoulders down, we opening our chest, or we pulling stomach in. So that's the posture part, right? So arms, posture, feet position first, second, or first parallel, second parallel, right? And hip actions, we have pendulums, we have rotations, or we have still hips. So also another position for legs and feet we use, it's a V position. So it's very specific position. So I will ask you to transfer your weight on one of the legs and bring another foot close to the standing leg, but in a specific way. We trying to bring our heel in touch with our shin here. So you kind of trying to point as high as you can. In the beginning, you might experience a little bit lower, like this kind of position. So your ankle might be not super stretched in the beginning. So, but it's the question of time. So with time, you can lift it higher and higher by doing the exercises. So, and if you do DanceFit every day, basically, so it will be very quick improvement for your ankle and that flexibility. So, but if you just starting out, you might be a little bit lower, and that's okay. So you bring your heel towards the shin. So and you kind of glue that part of the heel towards your shin. But toes, that's why this position calls V. Toes will have a V sign, like victory V position in the feet. So toes will be slightly apart and heel and shin of the standing leg together. So it's very, very useful and common positioning. And let's say majority of the actions, majority of the leg actions and steps in the DanceFit, we're gonna start with this position. So it's kind of like a neutral position. So and same on another leg. So if we switch the weight, again, I'm bringing my heel towards the shin and toes are slightly apart in the V sign or V letter position. So, and this going to be a starting point for majority of the motions, as I said already. So for example, if we open leg to the side, we're trying to turn out our hip joint here and open our foot in the turnout position. But when we close, we bring our feet into V position. So again, we open and we close. We open and we close. And almost every dance fit routine, especially for beginner session, before we go to some sequences and harder combinations of motions, I always start to warm up our joints most of the time with this type of actions, when we just extend our leg forward or side or back. So it looks very simple, but if you do it correctly, it becomes not super simple. So because we are trying to take care of our joints in here, so I'm keeping that open and turn out in here, so I'm not keeping it like this, right? So it's a lot of engagement here to create this shape. It's a lot of engagement in the knee. I'm trying to lift my knee here and here, both legs super straight, right? Then I collect, but keeping my standing leg very straight is very important. So in terms of feet, it's already a lot of work, and legs, we're doing a lot of work. But besides that, we're trying to keep our stomach engaged, our center, we call it center or core area engaged. We're trying to keep our upper body still. So we're using either this position in the arms, or the most basic position when we don't use any arm style, we just hold it on the waist, right? But we always come back our feet into V position and open, V and open. And it's very, very elegant and pretty position. That's why majority of the motions will start with that position, because that kind of very classic, beautiful, elegant way of staying. You can even talk like this, basically. So if you get used to it, you will have a habit of just staying very elegant. So same to the front. I'm opening my hip joint in here. So majority of the people will do this type of mistake. They do this. They just extend as is. So they were keeping the closet and just open as is. So that's not correct. So you have to rotate the hip joint, and as a outcome, you will have your foot also turn out. So you close and open, close and open. As you can see, my upper body is still, so my core is here still engaged. So again, make sure, guys, when you do leg actions, it does not impact your upper body. So sometimes people do this mistake. They kind of a little bit all over the map. So make sure your upper body is absolutely still here. And again, you can support yourself with the basic hold with your arms on the waist, or you can do our arm position with arm to the side. Again, the arm positions in that case help you to discipline yourself. So when it comes to different other motions for the arms, when you create a patterns and a design for the arms, it's already become much more challenging, because it targets your coordination. You start doing legs and at the same time arms, so it becomes very hard. So that we'll usually do in the intermediate and advanced series, when we combine many arm coordinations and motions of the arms together with the legs. But in the beginning, we're trying to stick with the simplicity. Let's say, for example, arms, we keep it in discipline and working on the legs. And sometimes I use a little bit of a coordination, but already simple exercise like leg extension, when we add arms, become much more challenging. That's why we always start with just simple this or this disciplined arms. And that's very important, because some people think, oh, okay, then I just like this, relax, right? My arms, who cares? So unless you're very already experienced and been doing dancing, or you already very experienced with DanceFit, then you can allow sometimes yourself relax your arms, because your body still already have incredible physique and habit to keep your tummy, keep the leg work. But unless you at that high level, discipline yourself with the positions for the arms, this or this, right? And you usually, when you go through the sessions, you just follow me, because I already suggest for you the arm positions. So another exercise I want to also explain today, it's when you guys lift your legs. So we can lift legs in absolutely different directions, and can be millions and millions of options how we can lift the leg. But basic direction is like side, right? So it's a front, and it's also can be in the back, right? So how we can lift leg to the side. So first you have to learn how to extend the leg. That's what we just explained, right? You turn out your joint here. Next, you trying to shift your, like your weight is completely on the same leg. You're trying to lift. It doesn't have to be high in the beginning, right? So it's a little bit like 45-degree angle of the lift. And I'm trying to keep it absolutely straight. So a lot of people start doing a little bit like this. They loosen up their knee. It's not really good quality. So we're trying to point our shoe as much as they can, lift our knee, keep ourselves with arms, discipline arms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, or here 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just explaining you the principles. Again, when you do DanceFit session with me, like we did just right now, it's 40 minutes long session. You just follow what I'm doing and basically follow my arm and leg positions. But also besides just following, I want you guys to know the principles, how and why we do certain things, right? So to the front. So here again, I'm trying to engage my core as much as I can because my leg lift, it's my core lift. It's not my quad lift, right? And like leg motion. It's primarily my abs and my internal muscles in the core lift. So I'm using completely that area to lift my leg, right? So that's why it's important to engage that part. So when you go lift to the back, it's very important to engage your back muscles. So when you lift, you actually have to, with your back a little bit, train to arch even, because that will catch your leg here with your back muscle. So if you, it's normal, a lot of people do this mistake. They start leaning front because it's a kind of counterbalance, but that's the opposite you want to do. So you have to keep your upper body actually that way a little bit more to compensate and counterbalance yourself. So you will work with your back, then your leg will go up. Otherwise your leg will not sustain up, it will always fall down. So again, guys, it's too much information right now, I know, but let's recap quickly what we covered today. First, we covered some basics of and foundations of DanceFit. And we talked about finger positions, like holding a neck and keeping our shoulders down. We talked about our posture, that our spine is vertical and stretch, our tail is down, our tummy tucked in, shoulder down, chest open. So we talked about basic arm positions, most of the time to the side for the discipline, or just simply on the waist. But again, my shoulder is always down. So we talked about feet position. We talked about first position, first parallel, second position, second parallel. Again, parallel, it's not this, right? So no inside feet. And we also talk about V positions, when our toes apart and our heel glued to the shin. So it's like, it reminds our letter V, like victory V. So and same on another foot. So it's a very common neutral position. We call it neutral position before majority of the motions. And we covered a little bit basic of our leg motions. So the very basic and first motions we have to learn is how to turn out our hip joints and how to straight our legs. So we covered the motion to the side with the hip turn out and engaged knees. We covered it to the front and same in the back, right? And we talked just a little bit also about leg lift. So we're trying to keep our core engaged and keep legs absolutely straight. Again, that discipline creates incredibly strong legs and super lean, super slim, and elegant and beautiful. And when we talked about the back lift, we focusing on a little bit arching, kind of keeping our upper body still so that we're not leaning forward. So this is it for today, guys. Try to do this routine at least 3 times this week. And when you progress, in a few weeks, you switch to intermediate series, and then you can switch to the most advanced DanceFit Pro level. But let's say if you have already experience with dancing, or you've been working out with just in general in your life a lot, you might try right away to jump to the pro or intermediate series. But if you're a beginner and you've been not very active in your life before, I recommend you to start from the beginner and take it easy, and build your foundations. Again, listen to your body. Sometimes even on the beginner level, some things can be challenging, and you don't have to force yourself and push yourself too hard. So you have to listen to your body. And sometimes, let's say if you experience you have no balance in this position, that's okay. In the beginning, you might experience a lot of disbalances and limitations. But we here exercising consistently, and I'm here for you to support you guys to go over it, and little by little you will build yourself stronger and stronger and stronger, and then go next level, and then in the end you will have a fantastic physique and the body you desire. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.